Emma was feeling better than she had in ages. Despite a short night, Michael had been gracious, and the bacon and coffee she just enjoyed were delicious. Now, she was lounging on the sofa, feeling relaxed. It was her third day staying at Michael's place, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. Suddenly, Michael's phone began beeping repeatedly, signaling incoming texts. Curious, Emma figured it might be something important. She picked up the phone from the charger and noticed there was no password. Michael had claimed he had nothing to hide. As she scrolled through the messages, she saw several new texts from Lisa, Michael's wife, who was currently in Mexico working on a church project. The first message read, "Nancy told me you're sleeping with some tramp. You jerk. How do you like it when the shoe's on the other foot?" The following messages were explicit photos of a woman, who Emma assumed was Lisa, engaged in a ménage à trois. Just then, the doorbell rang. Emma answered it to find a woman in a dress accompanied by a uniformed police officer. They pushed their way inside. The woman announced, "I'm from CPS. We're taking you from this home for your own safety and placing you in a temporary foster home." Emma tried to step back, but the officer and the CPS worker grabbed her by the arms and started dragging her towards the door. She fought against them, but they were relentless. Michael emerged from the bedroom, shouting, "Let her go. What the hell is going on?" As he rushed to intervene, the officer zapped him with a stun gun. Emma screamed in panic but managed to shout, "CPS can't take me. I'm an adult. Let me go." The CPS worker looked taken aback, and the officer released Emma. With one arm free, she punched the CPS worker square in the nose. She then turned to the officer and demanded, "Why are you trying to kidnap me?" Michael, recovering from the stun gun's effects, lunged at the officer, knocking him to the ground. The officer grabbed his gun and fired, hitting Michael in the shoulder. At that moment, two more police officers burst in and quickly handcuffed both Michael and Emma. Emma protested, "These people tried to kidnap me. That CPS woman said she'd put me in foster care. I'm an adult. I think they were planning to sell me." Michael tried to help but was shot by another officer. Michael cried out, "I need an ambulance right now." The paramedics, alerted by the gunshot, arrived minutes later. One of them looked at Michael's situation and shouted, "What kind of idiot handcuffed this man while he's shot in the shoulder? Don't they have an IQ test for cops? Get those cuffs off, now." One of the officers turned Michael onto his wounded shoulder to remove the handcuffs, causing him to scream in agony. Emma also screamed, "Stop hurting him. My mother's a lawyer, and she'll make you all pay. Why did you barge in here? CPS? I'm an adult." The woman by the door grinned and said, "I made the call. I saw what happened while this man's wife was out serving the Lord." Emma told Michael, "Find out her name." At that moment, two more plainclothes officers entered. One asked, "What's happening here?" Emma explained, "These two tried to kidnap me, and when my dad tried to intervene, they shot him. I want them arrested." The officer instructed, "Remove her handcuffs." He then addressed the CPS worker he recognized, "Why are you here?" She replied, "We got a call about a child in danger and a man with a gun, so we came to pick her up, and then everything went haywire." Emma shouted, "I'm an adult, you moron, and this is my dad." As paramedics wheeled Michael out on a stretcher, Emma ran up to him and asked, "Will he be okay?" The paramedic reassured her, he should recover in a few days. "Officers, can she accompany him in the ambulance?" The plainclothes officers nodded in agreement. They then instructed everyone to sit down, and one went outside to apprehend the woman trying to leave across the street. He brought her back in and took statements from everyone involved. The following day, Michael and Emma were in a hospital room speaking with a man in a suit. He said, "I've reviewed all the statements. The CPS worker is being fired." The officer who shot you is suspended pending an investigation. Nancy admitted she made the call without understanding the full situation. She might face charges, but we're not certain yet. Emma, looking very serious, hugged Michael and said, "She also told Lisa you were with some other woman. I saw it on your phone before everything went down." "I'm so sorry, Dad." Michael looked at the photos, tears streaming down his face. "Well, that's that. Get the paperwork done. I have a solid prenup. Serve her with divorce papers when she lands on Friday. Get a restraining order if you can. Also, find out who we can sue and proceed with it." Nancy slandered both me and Emma. Tom, their lawyer, responded, "We're already on it. We're suing her, the CPS worker, the officer who shot you, CPS, and the police department. We're also suing the officers who handcuffed you. The paramedic is eager to testify. Was your security system active?" Michael smiled faintly. "Of course. All of this is in the cloud. I need to take some painkillers and rest." "Thanks, Tom." A few hours later, Karen, Michael's personal secretary, arrived to update him on business matters. "Don't worry, Michael. I've reached out to the project managers. We'll handle everything until you can get back to work. Today, we got the final permits for the Ironwood project, so we're ready to start building the model homes. Dave estimates that we could be ready to start selling in about 10 weeks. I'm already putting together a trading schedule, and you'll need to create a package for this unit. Make sure to include substantial bonuses for everyone involved. Dave also mentioned that if you disagree, I should give you a nudge on the shoulder. By the way, I might need some extra help soon. We currently have 4 units up and running, with 2 more pending permits. I was sorry to hear about Lisa." "Gee, thanks, Karen," I replied. "You always know just what to say to lift my spirits." "Well, I might be facing a divorce, but at least I'm not broke. Our prenuptial agreement has a strong adultery clause, and it's crucial. I should probably send Tom a box of steaks as a thank you. Maybe when things settle down, my daughter Emma will be interested in helping you out as an assistant." "Got it, boss. I'll handle everything," Karen said. "I need to get back to the office now. Hope you recover soon." 3 days later, Lisa arrived at the airport and made her way to baggage claim. As she was there, 2 men approached her. "Hello, Tom. Looks like my cheating husband didn't want to face me. What a coward. I'm not a fan of divorce, but I'm not sure our marriage can survive this." Tom handed her a large envelope. "I'm afraid it's inevitable, Mrs. Moore. You've been served." The second man was recording a video. Tom continued, "Also included in the envelope is a restraining order. You're not allowed within 500 feet of your home or Michael. Inside, you'll find copies of the photos you sent. Michael is filing for divorce on grounds of adultery. There's also a letter from Michael. The marriage contract will be enforced to the letter." As Tom turned to leave, Lisa protested, "He can't do this. He cheated first." Tom simply replied, "Read the letter and don't breach the restraining order, or you could end up in jail." Lisa, stunned, collected her luggage and took a free shuttle to a nearby Hilton hotel. When she attempted to rent a room, none of her cards worked until her debit card finally went through. She went to her room, grabbed a drink from the mini fridge, and sat down to read the letter. "Lisa, I'm guessing you were taken aback by being served at the airport. You should have expected this. After all, you cheated on me with 2 men simultaneously and then sent me the photos. Emma showed them to me while I was in the hospital recovering from a gunshot wound. I hope to be home by the time you read this, but I can't be sure. Emma was a bit bruised but otherwise okay. Aside from this divorce suit, many lives have been disrupted, all because of you and your smug friend Nancy. Not only did Nancy falsely accuse me of infidelity, but she also called CPS on Emma, which led to me being tossed, injured, and many careers being wrecked. We're suing her, the CPS worker, the officer who shot me, and several others, including the 2 men you were with." Lisa was sobbing and in shock as she read on. "I should introduce you to Emma. You might recall when we met, I mentioned that my last girlfriend, Rachel, dumped me in a very public and humiliating manner. Because of that, she couldn't come forward to tell me she was pregnant, resulting in me discovering I had a daughter I never knew about. Emma finally convinced her mother to reveal who her father was. A few days after you left, Emma came to my door. I was thrilled to learn about her. We plan to wait until your return to discuss this in person because such matters are best handled face-to-face. I know you'd like Emma." Then your friend Nancy mistook my relationship with Emma for an affair and sent you photos of us hugging. Nancy took these photos through our windows and was accused of being a peeping Tom. Anyway, on my lawyer's advice, I've canceled all our credit cards and left $2,500 in the checking account as stipulated in the prenuptial agreement. Oh, and by the way, you're spreading poison. I spoke with the pastor when he visited me in the hospital. He recognized the 2 men in the photos. I suspect their return home wasn't what they hoped for. Their spouses have filed for divorce, supported by the evidence you provided. You've ruined so many lives. I hope you and Nancy did some good on your trip because you've left a trail of destruction here. I expect our next meeting will be in court. Your mother has your car and knows what's happening. She was a bit shocked by the photos but agreed to let you stay with her if needed. At least we don't have children. The men you were with do, and now they'll only see their kids during court-authorized visitation. If you return to our church, you'll likely find it very unwelcoming. By my count, you and Nancy have ruined at least a dozen lives. Have a good day, Michael." Lisa let out a primal scream and collapsed on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. The people in the adjacent room called the front desk. A few minutes later, there was a knock at her door. When Lisa didn't respond, the manager used a universal key card to enter the room. Finding Lisa on the floor, she gently sat down beside her and embraced her. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Tell me what's happening." The letter lay discarded next to Lisa, who handed it to the manager. She read the letter while still holding Lisa. "Oh dear, I saw something about this in the newspaper," she said softly. "It looks like things are only going to get worse. Let's get you onto the bed. Tonight, I'll clean your room and bring you some food you need to eat. I'll also have someone check on you a few times. Try to get some rest." She locked the mini fridge before leaving, not wanting Lisa to drown her sorrows in alcohol. Michael was discharged on Saturday morning and returned home in a rented hospital wheelchair. They left him in the living room with his arm in a cast. Emma was there to take care of him, and her mother had joined her. Mom explained that she had realized, a month after leaving Michael, that it had been a grave mistake and had regretted it ever since. She had never been married, and Emma mentioned that she rarely dated. They were catching up when the doorbell rang around 3 p.m. Emma answered the door to find an elderly woman standing there. "Can I help you?" The woman said, "Please don't shoot the messenger. I'm Lisa's mom. She wanted to come herself, but she has a restraining order. Can I come in?" Michael gave the go-ahead to let her in. Once inside, Michael greeted her. "How are you doing, Mom? I've always liked you. I'm sorry this situation came between us. Thanks for stopping by." Helen smiled nervously. "I was worried you'd shoot me. I'm glad you don't hate me. How are you holding up? Could you introduce me?" Michael returned her smile. "I don't hate you, Helen. This is my daughter Emma and her mother, Rachel. Things are improving for me. My shoulder hurts, but I have medication. Physically, I'm okay, but mentally, it's tough." Helen turned to Emma and Rachel. "Thank you for taking care of him. This is a hard time for everyone. Lisa is a real mess. Even though Nancy started this whole mess, Lisa realizes she's responsible for most of the damage. She doesn't even understand what she did. Rachel, a family law lawyer, commented, "I'm familiar with these situations. There's rarely a logical explanation. If people were always rational, these disasters wouldn't occur." My colleague refers to it as an instant idiot attack. The person usually feels terrible afterward, but by then, it's often too late. Marriages can seem fine until something explodes, leaving nothing but ruins. Michael's world fell apart in seconds. Cops, CPS, injury, photos. It all happened so suddenly, there was no time to stop it. Michael nodded. "I understand. My daughter acted on impulse, controlled by anger. Anyway, I'm here to collect some of Lisa's things, if that's all right." Rachel stood up. "Emma, stay with Michael. I'll help Helen." "Michael, is it okay if she uses your suitcases?" "Of course. They're on the top shelf in the closet," Michael said. Once upstairs, Michael asked Emma, "What happened with your mom?" "She seemed to have been in love with me, but she left me in a public outburst, calling me all sorts of names. Now she's acting all sweet. Is she planning to break my heart again?" Emma paced around the room, hesitating before speaking. "It's a bit complicated. Her roommate saw you with another woman. Mom got angry and yelled at you. She tried to reach you a few times afterward, but your calls went unanswered. A couple of weeks later, while walking with her roommate, the roommate pointed out the woman she thought you were seeing. Mom recognized her as your sister. She tried to call you that night, but the number was disconnected. A few days later, she came to your house, and the neighbor told her you had dropped out of school, transferred, and moved away. She had no idea where you went." Michael sighed. "So it's the same as now. She heard a rumor about me cheating and blew everything up without checking the facts. Fantastic. How did I get so unlucky with the women I've been involved with?" Emma replied, "I'm sorry, Dad. It wasn't exactly the same. There was no revenge sex. Actually, my mom told me she'd never been with anyone else before or after her outburst. You're the only man she's ever been with. And yes, she still loves you." Michael was left speechless. A few minutes later, Rachel and Helen came downstairs, each carrying a suitcase and a trash bag. Rachel said, "Her clothes are in the suitcases, and her personal items like shampoo and cosmetics are in the bag. Is this okay?" Michael waved toward the door. "That's fine." After Rachel helped Helen out, she came back. "I should probably leave now. I just wanted to check on Emma." "Okay," Michael said, taking her hand. "Why did you choose to practice family law? It seems like such a sad specialty." Rachel replied, "I've made my own mistakes, and every now and then, I get the chance to help others avoid similar ones." "So you're here to prevent me from making a mistake?" "Unfortunately, no," Rachel said. "I'm here to help while you're still recovering," Rachel said. "And, I heard from someone across the street that you were allegedly having an affair with my daughter. Also, I should have intervened with your wife about a week ago, but I wasn't there, and things have escalated. If all she had done was embarrass herself by yelling at someone in public, maybe I could have stepped in to help. But it went too far." Michael looked intrigued. "Interesting comparison. Could you elaborate?" "You know exactly what I mean," Rachel replied. "I was led to believe you were cheating on me. Remember how I left you? You tried to call, but I didn't answer. Then I discovered the woman you were with was actually your sister. I tried to reach you again to apologize, but your number was no longer in service. I came to your house, but you had moved. I regret it every day since then. Now, I finally have the chance to apologize." Michael nodded. "I understand. If you thought I was having an affair with my sister, I can see why you might have suspected I was involved with Emma. Please don't laugh, but I've never stopped loving you. I apologize if I said something out of line. You are married. Michael smiled. Not for long. Lisa has already been served, so we're legally separated. Emma mentioned that you haven't been with anyone else for a while. Perhaps once my divorce is finalized and if we're both still interested, we might see where things could go. Rachel smiled back. If my daughter has shared this with you, she probably also told you I've never been with anyone but you. If you ever need me, I'm here for you. Given my fidelity to you all these years, you can be assured that I'll never cheat on you in the future. Emma intervened. Enough of this. Michael needs to take his medication and rest. Mom, you'll help him get settled until he's better. I'll see you in the morning. The next morning, Michael and Rachel were talking. Rachel said, I lost touch with you after you transferred to another school, but I never forgot what we had. I've always wondered where you were. I hoped that if I found you and apologized, maybe you'd forgive me. After law school, I shared my story with my senior partner, who offered to help track you down. His detective found you easily and learned you were married. My partner's friend got me a job nearby, and I've been working here ever since. I became a partner several years ago. I occasionally saw glimpses of you but didn't want to intrude. When Emma turned 18, I finally told her about you, which reopened old wounds. I regret the pain I caused. Michael interrupted, well, my uncle Tom Wilson doesn't think so. He's told me he's faced you in court 7 times and only won once. If you nearly always win, you can't be stupid. Rachel smiled. Tom Wilson is a good lawyer, but he hasn't been on the right side of a divorce case. I didn't know he was your uncle. I consider myself a good lawyer, but where I fail is in matters concerning you. I'm sorry for the mess I made. A week later, Rachel was in her office when she received a call. Lisa Moore is here and wants to see you. She doesn't have an appointment. Show her in, Rachel instructed. Lisa was led into the office and seated by the table. Rachel took a seat on the sofa. Lisa began, thank you for seeing me. I need your help. People say you're the best at reconciliation. I realize I was incredibly foolish, and I doubt I have any chance, but I don't want to lose my husband. Rachel replied, yes, it's true. I'm considered one of the best. But there's an important detail you missed. I'm also Emma's mother. Lisa lost consciousness and slowly slid to the floor. When she came to, she found her head resting on Rachel's lap while Susan, the assistant, was wiping her face with a cold, damp cloth. Rachel smiled gently. Welcome back, Lisa. You must have been exhausted. I don't usually have such an effect on people. There's ice in this rag. Would you like some water? Lisa took a few sips through a straw. Why are you being so kind to me? Lisa asked. When you mentioned you were Emma's mom, I panicked. Thank you. Susan chuckled slightly. Yes, usually when people faint, we just leave them in an alley. Rachel covered Susan's mouth. Susan, stop it. Sorry, Lisa. Susan has a peculiar sense of humor, but she's actually very kind. We just loosened a couple of buttons and a belt. I understand this is shocking. My face tends to make people choke rather than faint. I know what you must be thinking about me. I'm usually not as foolish and awful as I was recently, Lisa said. I've lost my husband and hurt many people. I know I can't undo what's happened, but I want to make things right and perhaps be friends. I've caused a lot of pain. I think I can get up now. All right, sit back in your chair, Rachel instructed. I need to make a call. She pulled out her cell phone and pressed the speed dial button. Emma, how's Michael? Rachel asked. After a brief pause, she continued, good, put him on the phone. Michael, how are you holding up? Well, take a pill, you'll need it. I need to ask you something. Lisa's here with me. She came to my office without knowing I'm Emma's mother. She's accepted that you won't take her back, but she wants to remain friends. I've heard you've liked her mother and called her the mom. Lisa isn't dangerous. Could you call your uncle and ask for the restraining order to be lifted? Please, beg him if you have to. After a moment, Michael agreed. Okay, thank you. I'll invite her to dinner. Lisa, you're coming to dinner tonight, right? Lisa hesitated. I guess. Great, see you at 7. You'll meet Emma then, Rachel said. Michael stared at the phone as if it were a snake. What the heck? Rachel and Lisa are now friends, and she's invited Lisa to dinner. I think I'm in big trouble. Do you know what your mother's up to? I think she wants to make sure it's really over between you and Lisa before she considers moving in with you. Mom actually has morals, otherwise, she would have tried this years ago. Michael shook his head. Fine. Lisa and I are definitely over. It's not just about sex. She lost her mind over a message and didn't even verify it. Essentially, she took her neighbor's word over ours. I'd spend the rest of my life wondering if it would happen again. She had no trust or respect for me. How is this different from what Rachel did? Okay, so your mom didn't retaliate by sleeping with 2 men, but she did break up with you by yelling at you in public, based on a friend's accusation. She was ready to leave you without evidence, and through public humiliation. Again, no trust and no respect. I understand your point, Michael said. But if Rachel had come to me a week later, explained what happened, and apologized, would have taken her back. I loved her. It took me years to start dating again. I need another pill. Emma handed him a pain pill, and he fell asleep. Rachel returned home around 5 p.m., and Michael woke up when she kissed him. He smiled groggily. This is some kind of violence. I can't resist my condition. Rachel just smiled. Well, I'm a lawyer. Sue me. So, why did you invite Lisa to dinner and make me cancel the party? Are you trying to get us back together? Whether you get back together or not is up to the two of you. I have no say in that. I invited Lisa because you haven't spoken since all this happened. The breakdown occurred because there was no communication. Her friend's messages led her to act without talking to you. A simple conversation could have avoided this whole mess. Even though Tom Wilson is a divorce lawyer, if you were my client, I'd insist on a face-to-face meeting. Most relationship breakdowns stem from lack of communication or misunderstandings. Michael didn't respond. Lisa arrived at about 10 minutes to 7. She walked in without knocking and approached Michael. Emma intercepted her. Why didn't you knock? And don't even think about touching him, Emma said firmly. Lisa stopped and said, Michael, can we talk alone? I'm really sorry. Michael shook his head. No. You cheated with 2 men, caused the breakup of 3 families, and left 5 children with visiting fathers. Because of your friend Nancy, my daughter was beaten and handcuffed. I was hit with a stun gun, wounded, and handcuffed. There's no way I'm going to be alone with you. Besides, the house is mine according to the marriage contract. And Emma is right. You should have knocked. Tomorrow, I'm changing the locks. Rachel entered the room. It looks like things are going well. How are you, Lisa? Lisa looked up. Thank you for inviting me, Rachel. Tell Susan I think she's a cruel person, but I'm sure you already know that. Michael shouted, You've already hurt me enough. I know, Lisa said. I'm not trying to hurt you further. I was incredibly stupid. I went to Mexico to do good, but instead, I did harm. I'm not trying to force you to take me back. What I did is unforgivable. I just hope you don't hate me. If you need a housekeeper, cook, or nurse while you recover, I'd be glad to help as a form of penance. I already went to church last Sunday. I publicly apologized for the mess I made, Lisa said. Maybe I'll write a book titled How to Ruin Your Life in 10 Minutes. Emma raised an eyebrow. What does 10 minutes mean? I'm a virgin, but I thought sex should take longer. Lisa sighed. That's true, but we definitely didn't have sex. I only asked them to pose with me for photos. I'm so sorry for everything. I explained this to both wives, and they both slapped me. I can't blame them. I'm not sure if my words mean anything to them. There was a brief silence before Michael spoke. It might matter to them because they found out by accident. But for me, it doesn't make much difference. Yes, it's unbearable that you cheated. Even if it was just for a moment, being naked with two men is still cheating. It was devastating to find out my wife was unfaithful, but what hurt even more was that you deliberately set out to hurt me without giving me a chance to defend myself. You received a message claiming I was cheating, and instead of talking to me, you sent me photos of your infidelity. It's not the same as someone trying to hide an affair and getting caught. Your actions showed you didn't want to be married anymore. Either you wanted out and did what you needed to make it happen, or you had so little respect for me that you thought I'd accept this. If I heard you were cheating, I'd confront you or seek real evidence. I might even hire a private investigator. We've been married a long time. I'd need more than hearsay to believe it. I loved you and trusted you. Now, I know I can never trust you again. Lisa looked pained. I don't know why I behaved this way. It's like I don't even know myself anymore. How can I promise it won't happen again? Michael thought for a moment. So what are you going to do now? The prenuptial agreement says that a cheating spouse leaves the marriage with what they contributed, which in your case is $2,500. You'll need to find a job. Any prospects? Lisa shook her head. No. I almost have a degree in psychology, but I should have seen a psychologist instead of trying to become one. Michael chuckled. I know, right? Freshman psychology majors are practically a cliché. At least you don't have to worry about a bad recommendation from a previous employer. Maybe the pastor could write you a letter, though that's unlikely. I know I've never worked. I'm not sure what job you could get, which is why I mentioned being your housekeeper and cook. I have experience in that role. But I might not be able to get a good reference from my former employer. I feel like I've ruined my career. Michael considered this. Yes, it seems like a mess, but I know your former employer. He's not a bad guy. Maybe he can help. Lisa looked at him with gratitude. Michael, you have no reason to help me. I've burned that bridge completely. I'll think about it and we can discuss it after dinner, Michael said. Rachel and Emma prepared a dinner of pizza and wings. They ate in the living room to stay close to Michael. Once they were finished, Michael said, All right, Lisa, here's what I'll do, provided Uncle Tom and Rachel say it won't harm my business. I own a large apartment complex on Lincoln Avenue, and there are always free apartments available. I'll arrange for you to live there rent-free. We'll also find a job for you. Rachel interjected. Michael, you don't want to annul the prenuptial agreement, so we need to sign and file the divorce petition before making any arrangements. I've already signed the papers and given them to Tom. Lisa nodded. I've signed the papers too. Rachel smiled. Okay, I'll also draft a document where you renounce any future claims to Michael's assets in exchange for a lump sum payment of $5,000. Is that acceptable, Michael? Certainly, Michael agreed. Seems like I have too many lawyers in my life now, and they're spending my money. Rachel smiled. They continued chatting for another hour before Lisa left to see her mom. Rachel told Lisa that the document renouncing any claims would be ready in a couple of days and asked which lawyer she should send it to. Lisa shook her head. I don't have a lawyer or the money for one. I'm not disputing anything. Just let me know when the document is ready, and I'll come to your office to sign it. Rachel nodded. This isn't a good idea. I've got a clear conflict of interest here. There are 2 firms in my building, and Tim, a senior partner at one of them, owes me some favors. I plan to ask him to review the document I'm working on and also to get a copy of the divorce papers from Tom. Tom's a decent guy, and so is Michael, so I'm sure the papers are all in order, but they still need to be reviewed for you. I'll call you tomorrow with Tim's contact information after I've made arrangements with him. When Lisa left, Rachel said, I hate to admit it, but I kind of like her. Sure, she was a bit of an idiot for a while, but she's not a bad person. You've got good taste in women. Michael burst out laughing. Absolutely. Except for the part where they fly off the handle when they think I'm cheating. I know, Michael. I nearly did the same thing, though thankfully not the cheating part, I replied. You still care about her, don't you? Michael's expression turned somber. Certainly. I've loved her for years, but I can't stay married to her. I'm not going to stop the divorce. Are you going to find her a job? I asked. It could be at one of your companies or through someone who owes you a favor. There's also the position of housekeeper and cook. On a completely different note, I asked, do you think you could ever forgive me and love me again, even though I'm a terrible housewife and an even worse cook? I don't think I ever stopped loving you, Michael said. It's a win or a loss for me, but I'll end up with a wonderful daughter from this deal. Rachel seemed pensive. I'm about to shock and offend the man I love. I love you. She loves you, and you love both of us. How would you feel if you and I, say, got married? With my full blessing, Lisa could then be your girlfriend. Emma nearly shouted, Rachel, what have you done to my mom? My whole life feels like a lie. Rachel embraced Emma. I didn't think you'd like this idea. I'm really sorry. No, the idea is brilliant. I'm just stunned that you suggested it, though I'm not sure Michael and Lisa would go for it. Well, Michael is a man, so it depends on how he's thinking, Rachel said. Michael shook his head. Rachel, when you think outside the box, you really push the boundaries. Why? Lisa came to my office because she heard I was the top family law lawyer in the area for reconciliation, and I'm proud of that. The main obstacle to getting back together is my reluctance to end things now that I'm somewhat back. That's all I could come up with. I invited Lisa over tonight to see if we could get along because it wouldn't work if we were at odds. Turns out I like her, and I think she likes me too. Wouldn't this be a win for everyone? Do you think you can handle 2 women? Emma, if I've learned anything lately, it's that I can't even handle 1 woman, let alone 2. I can already picture the schedule. I might as well call it quits now. I'm done. Marcia leaned in and gave him a passionate kiss. I'm going to call Lisa and ask her to come back. We should probably ask her everything. Lisa came back about 40 minutes later. She sat down on the sofa and said, Okay, why did I have to come back? Emma took over. My mom has a proposal. You originally came to her because of her reputation as a reconciler. She came up with an idea. You both seem to like each other, you're both in love with Dad, and even though you've both had issues with him at different times, he still loves both of you. Mom suggested that she marry Dad, and you could be his side partner. What do you think? It's the best offer you'll get. Lisa started to cry, which soon turned into sobs. Marcia and Emma comforted her until she calmed down. If Michael agrees, then I'm definitely okay with this. It's better than losing it all completely. We might need a calendar, Michael groaned. See, Emma? I told you. I'm done. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. Michael and Rachel didn't end up getting married, but she and Emma moved in with him. Michael bought the house across the street where Nancy had lived during the trial. All other lawsuits were settled for undisclosed amounts. Lisa moved into Nancy's old house across the street once Michael had it renovated. Lisa actually worked for Michael as a housekeeper and cook, and Rachel and Lisa managed to work out a schedule. Interestingly, neither Rachel nor Lisa were into girl-on-girl sex, but they both enjoyed threesomes, so in the end, it worked out for all three of them.